Good afternoon, everyone. Australia, the land of fun and sun, blizzard conditions. Everywhere you look, tablelands, east-west, north-south, snow, every capital city except Darwin. Trajectory of the front from Antarctica. Notice there's another low directly behind that heading in from the west. Take a look at the frost. Severe frost is that dark purple and how much it extends into the outback. Higgins storm chasing. That far north up there is Cape York. And what's that piece of land off to the right there? Oh, that's Papua New Guinea. And remember when David Taylor gave us that forecast based on sunspots to say it might be the all-time record coldest winter in Australia? Looks like it's shaping up already to be extremely cold. So all those news articles you're seeing about Antarctica melting, that's nonsense. And the crux and the pivot to the whole story here is the energy grid doesn't have enough power because everybody's drawing because it's so cold. So the mega users in the country are being charged up to 100 times the normal rate. Yay, Green Policy Australia. Thanks for using wind and solar so much to prove to the rest of the world it's unviable and it's not a solution. But what is a solution is growing your own food, your own sprouts, your own microgreens. You can find the full seed selection below in the description box, the Adapt 2030 link, as well as all the links to tonight's video. And while you were enjoying your weekend, Australia has been pounded with this massive winter front up into the tropics, no less. Let's stay back in the Alpine region. Blizzard conditions, Hotham Alpine Resort. 2+ feet of snow already. Fresh powder across the tablelands. They're closing roads. But when we really do get up into the resort areas, you can see how much snow is coming down, what they need to clear off the roads. And here's something you really don't see every day. Every capital city in Australia except Darwin below 10 degrees Celsius. Darwin was 12°C. But this is the track that the BOM, or Bureau of Meteorology, puts for the storm front. This is incredibly rare. These fronts usually don't pass off over the East Coast, sending extreme frosts. They call it a vigorous westerly airstream, never once mentioning the grand solar minimum or possibility of amplification from other sources. This is so rare. They're not even saying it's normal in the media down there. That's how rare it is that everybody's accepting that this is exceptional. Something is very different with this storm front that has come through. Even the BOM says, a lot of talk about snow today. Let's share a little more about the white stuff. At least 60 centimeters of snow has fallen in -5 Celsius. Now those of you in the States, 60 centimeters is at least 2 feet. 30 centimeters for a foot. And remember, 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point at 32 Fahrenheit. So drop that down. We're looking at around 22 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Cold snap has blown in from the southeast. Notice how they never call it a cold front, but they always call it a heat wave. This is just a cold snap. Nothing wrong here. Just the icicles. And the front's passing over from Australia. You can see off the satellite loop here. Now looking at Australian media, Sky News, snow settled to low levels in New South Wales. Yeah, almost near the beach. Heavy dumpings of snow, at least they're admitting that, which is unusual in mainstream media to admit that there's such a problem and the cold is so severe. There's a second front also going to be coming next week. You can see what looks like feathers. Those are the fronts that are coming through. Also, that dark blue is -5 degrees Celsius. About 22 degrees Fahrenheit. That other just step up of sort of ocean blue, that's at freezing. So when you look at Cairns way up there and you see it is just a sliver in the nighttime temperatures away from freezing, that's startling. Now take a look here also at the frost forecast. Severe is the dark purple, moderate and then we have the possible. So let's take a look at what did happen here. Higgins storm chasing. Excellent feed. I've been following this for a couple of years. Really good information about Australian weather and Higgins storm chasing. Coldest frosty mornings this year for Queensland, and also it's the coldest for 10 years, it's the coldest for 6 years, it's the coldest for 16 years. In so many places, this is so unforecast by the forecasters coming out saying, oh, it's going to be above normal, it's going to be warm. No, it's going backwards. So a whiteout from what you just saw in the previous slide. Light frost is all that sort of aqua color. We can see where the severe and the heavy frosts were. Now, let's take you up to the peninsula up there. Cape York is that furthest point north. Then you actually see that peninsula running out there. And then you see the land that's over to the right over the legend for the chart, and focus in where it says Queensland. We'll come in a tiny bit closer here, Cape York, so you can really see what I'm talking about. And when we come to the top of the peninsula there, Papua New Guinea. I like to let that sink in for just a moment. That frost has extended so far north, it's just a few degrees south of the equator. Indonesia lies at the 0 mark. So does Papua New Guinea. This is not normal. It is not forecast, except for David Taylor and others that are saying we're entering the grand solar minimum and look for intensification like this. Now, I know it's coming into winter, but what do you think is going to happen to whatever's still left out in the fields or whatever's growing down there in the terms of agriculture with this much frost? There's already so many reports coming around going, oh, I couldn't bring all my plants in, things are frozen, etc. As you go through the news feeds, look at Facebook, look at Twitter, do some of your own research and see what people are talking about. Now over here to David Taylor, he runs the East Coast Weather Facebook page. He said even about, 5 months ago, Australia is set to have its coldest winter on record based on previous sunspot cycles. Everybody scoffed and laughed, and the BOM said, no, it's going to be warm, it's going to be dry. And now we have frosts up in the tropics a few degrees south of the equator. Who are you going to believe from now on? Now, the media should have been more appropriately calling it just like this, Australia's brutal big freeze. 0 degrees Celsius, freezing on the Gold Coast. Lashed with 90 km/h winds. So about 54 miles per hour approximately. Remember, it's 0.6 of a mile to a kilometer. And these are some of the images that are coming out tagged with what the forecasts were a couple days prior. You can definitely see that's at least a foot hanging on those picnic tables right there. Cold snap hits Australia, -5, Adelaide, New South Wales, Gold Coast, Central Outback. Feverishly cold temperatures. This comes off the UK Mail. Why is the UK using different verbiage and lexicon than the actual Australian media is? That's what I don't get. They're trying to downplay it. That's the only possible reason I can say that the Australian media is using such soft language with this. Thredbo, Charlotte Pass. And here's the thing that nobody's really wanting to touch with a 10-foot pole. The energy grid crisis point. Power prices surged 160 times the usual rate due to the draw on the grid, the demand caused by the cold wave across Australia's east coast. They're having to reroute and redivert power everywhere. Had to shut down the turbines because it was too windy. There's no sun, of course. Solar panels are not conducive for constant power, nor is wind. This absolutely shows is a very good test case here. If you're going to turn your country over to 100% renewables, unless you're using geothermal power or something like that, this is absolutely a smoke and mirrors, just meant to get free investment money from governments talking about green energy, because power coming from wind and solar for an entire nation isn't working here. Is not. When people are paying $14,000 for a megawatt of power, companies so they can continue to manufacture and stay in business. Houston, we have a huge problem. And Australia, thank you for showing us that 100% renewables don't work and they will not work. I am absolutely applauding you. Thank you so much for showing us that all these pipe dreams of green energy is exactly that, a pipe dream. How about magnetic motors for electric power? That might work a little better. Geothermal, gravitational vortex power. How about all these solutions that we're not using or even discussing? And these news feed over the last couple of days talking about Antarctica's melting into oblivion. It lost like 300 trillion tons of ice or something. No, it's actually minus 42 degrees Celsius right at the South Pole right now. So any melting would be from volcanic activity under the surface of the ice sheet. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Frost near equatorial regions. Antarctica frozen solid as a, well, frozen continent.